What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So in this video, I want to talk about Donald Trump in 2024 and what could potentially happen. All right? I've talked a little bit about this, but I want to kind of go a little bit more in depth about certain things. First of all, you might have heard me say this, and other people who know politics, a year and 3/4 is an eternity. It's an eternity. Look, back in 2019, you probably heard me say, barring some unforeseen event, Trump is going to win re-election. The economy was pretty good back then. I didn't care about Trump's low poll numbers because I knew that shit was misleading. And outside of his personal scandals and outside of the impeachment, I just saw Trump as being unbeatable. I didn't think even Joe Biden could beat him. But then the unforeseen event happened, which was the pandemic. And then the economy completely collapsed. America lost $17 trillion in wealth in 2020. When you take that and you add on to the top of that that chaos cake, the smoldering social issues and situations going on when it pertained to George Floyd, when it pertained to Ation Jefferson, when it pertained to Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and others, that was enough to tilt the election to Joe Biden. Even though he won by 7 million votes, I've said this before, much of that, all of that margin, pretty much all of it, came from the states of New York and California. But anyway, 2024, what can happen? A lot. A lot can happen. I just want to go back one or two election cycles to make a point. Well, actually, I'll do that later on. That'd be more appropriate for me to do it later on. Right now, the polling has Trump in a big advantage against everybody else in the Republican field. Trump right now within the party is polling 50% and higher as far as support. The next person is Ron DeSantis, who's in the 20s. After that, you have lower tier people like Ted Cruz, Mike Pence, trying to think of somebody else out there. Maybe Greg Abbott, even though I don't think his hat is really in the ring yet. You know, people like that. And for right now, Trump is in a position where he would come across as the favorite right now. But I do want to make a point. This is the point I was going to make. If you remember back in 2015, Hillary Clinton was in an even better place than Trump. Remember, Hillary, when it pertained to polling within the party, Democratic voters, before those primaries, was in the 70s. So I remember one specific poll that had Hillary with 77% of the support nationally from registered Democrats. Bernie Sanders was at 1%. 1%. That sounds incredible now, right? And that's how much the political landscape can change. All it takes is a candidate to get a little bit more exposure. And also, you might hear me say this. Sometimes absence makes the heart grows fonder. When Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State under Barack Obama, and she was no longer seen as being in a political fray, and you saw her in that role, and you kind of forgot why you disliked Hillary Clinton. But when she got back into the political arena, a lot of voters remembered why they didn't like her. Okay? Bernie Sanders, he can come out there with his head looking like Albert Einstein and all wacky looking, but it was never about the image with him, it was about the message. And voters liked his message. He went to the left of Hillary Clinton, all right, which appealed to the progressive wing, who came out in droves to vote for him in those states where he was most effective, in the Midwest and in the Northeast, and in some mountain states as well. and he drew in the youth vote, right? Even I was a Bernie Sanders supporter at one point in time, right? The last time I voted in the primary, I think it was for Bernie Sanders. So he was able to galvanize the youth vote, and he moved. He moved to the left of her. So, and that's why he was able to almost wrestle the nomination away from her. Had it not been for the fact that she had the support of the supermajorities, who were committed to Hillary Clinton, and it was a safeguard to me against the system. In my opinion, against the system. But this is what could happen with Trump. This is what could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. This is what could happen. Possibly. I still believe that Donald Trump is going to be, I think he's going to win the nomination. All right? My instincts tells me this. But when you do this type of work, because people sometimes say, oh, too wrong, you change your mind. No, I'm not. When you're a scientist, when you really look into this shit, you got to look at all the other possibilities. I'm not God. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. So I also present other possibilities. People got to think outside the box and think of other things that could happen. Ron DeSantis is a polished politician. Trump never was. Trump is a businessman who had a good message, but sometimes the message didn't come out polished. Ron DeSantis is a polished politician in the prime of his career. Trump, we have to remember, is an aging person. He'll be 78, I think, 77, 78 years old by 2024. What could potentially happen is Ron DeSantis could take Trump's message, his talking points, run on his own record, which he's establishing right now as his own man. If you notice, he's not one of Trump's lackeys anymore. He's his own man. He could take what Trump says, take his most popular messages, embrace them as his own, but run to the right of Donald Trump in the primaries. Because there's one thing I noticed that I picked on that's an Achilles heel of Donald Trump when it comes to even his supporters. The one thing I noticed is, if you remember, Trump is pro-elixir. That's not popular with his base at all. That's not popular with his base at all. They booed him. They boo him when he bring up take the elixir. DeSantis is anti-elixir. So if he makes it a point to attack Trump somehow as being soft and not on message anymore, and put any little doubt in these weirdos' minds that, hey, I'm the guy. I'm even more so. Plus, what you could start seeing too, let's be honest, a lot of dirty shit going on. A lot of dog whistling. I know LB, if you listen to this Quest X, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to see a lot of dog whistling in the GOP from DeSantis and possibly Trump to try to embrace the worst part of that element of that party. And, Fox News is not necessarily... Look, Trump's not president anymore. They don't have to be beholden to kiss his ass. And, who knows? Whoever just wins, whoever catches fire is the guy that may win. Now, me personally, I think DeSantis' problem is, I don't know if he's a national candidate. Like, can he win outside the South? Is one of the things I wonder. Can he play well in, say, New Hampshire? Can he win a primary in Michigan? I don't think so. I think that Trump would ultimately... I still think Trump holds the advantage, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I also have brought this up too. there's still an outside chance that Liz Cheney may try to enter the primaries as a spoiler. By that I mean, I said yesterday, I think it was, in open primaries where Democrats and independents could vote, she could win a few of those states, while at the same time Ron DeSantis battles Trump in the South and eats away at some of his support, so that Trump is facing Liz in the North, East, where I think she's probably most popular, and maybe some Midwestern states. He's battling her, but then in his territory, the South, he's also battling DeSantis. As far as, because it's going to be a lot of different candidates in the field, so this thing could be very interesting. I still think Trump is going to win the nomination, and I think if he wins the nomination, initially without Liz Cheney in the campaign in the fall, I had Trump winning. But if she runs in the fall, I think that's going to hurt Trump a lot. It's going to hurt him a lot. So, just want to talk a little bit about 2024 a little bit. Tell me what you guys think.